For chapter 2, I decided to make a concept map, and in this concept map, I basically just put the different things that go into promoting and protecting health and safety in the school systems. And I drew a line to connect all the different parts that go into it, and I wrote about it. For example, the emergency care in schools. I wrote about how everyone must be prepared for injuries, and there should be procedures in place that everybody knows about, so that in the case of an emergency, everything can flow perfectly. And we talked about in the chapter what to do in case of a disaster, and I thought it was interesting how they talked about there are 3 levels: the district, the building, and the classroom for an emergency or disaster, and how the district has a plan, the building has a plan, and the classroom has a plan. And I thought it was very important to make sure that the kids in the classroom know what the plan is, and obviously the teachers would be more aware of the building and the district part of the disaster plan. We talked about in the chapter the resources in the school, and this part I thought was interesting, how school nurses and health aides and teachers all go into the idea of creating school health resources for students of all ages. And another part that I thought was very important was the student involvement, and within that I talked about how we should encourage kids to take responsibility not only in the classroom but in the real world of the communities that they live in. And I really thought that the book focused a lot on the teacher's role in promoting and protecting health and safety in the classroom. For example, talking about how teachers are the ones that know the students the best, and I thought this connected back to a lot of different education classes I have taken, especially principles of teaching and learning, as we should really get to know our students so as to understand when they are in a situation where they might not be healthy emotionally or physically. We can understand, and we can do all that we can to help them get back to where they should be. And you really need to know your students in order to recognize when they're having an off day, and you should be very attentive to this to make sure that everyone is having a good time and everyone's needs are being met in the classroom. Another thing that I thought was really interesting, I'd never heard of it before, was a school-based health center, and that fell into the partnerships in the community section of the reading. And I've never heard of this before, but it was interesting to read about how some schools actually have place where you can go to get your physical, to get shots and immunizations within the school itself. And I just thought that it would be wonderful if all schools had that, but financially, obviously, it would be pretty hard to do that. But I'd never heard of it before, and I found it pretty interesting. Lastly, I thought that the section on optimal learning was very interesting, in how there are so many things that go into the optimal learning, like the school size, the lighting, the color choices, and the temperature and ventilation, noises, cleanliness, and accessibility. And all of those things definitely go into making or breaking a classroom and a school system. I remember thinking about being in a classroom in middle school, and the classroom was very dark and there was not much to look at on the walls if you were just looking around the classroom. And I thought that this reading made me think of that, because if they had a better classroom setup and a school setup, then there could have been a better emotional wellness going on there. All right, thanks for listening.